Monday morning. It's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world here on this Monday. Lots of news over the weekend as well. That'll affect the stock market today. We'll get into a lot of that out there. Of course, the big news is we'll call it a ceasefire again over in the Middle East. President Trump came out and did say he's ordering the hostilities against Iran to slow down as they continue to do negotiating through third parties in that part of the country or in the part of the world, excuse me. So that's happening today. Oil prices are down sharply today, actually, which means, of course, good news elsewhere. We'll look at the market watch, stocks we're paying attention to, plus the national and local stories that you need to know going into the beginning of this week as well. So let's get into it with that market watch. And it's pretty simple. Everything is up with the oil prices continuing to slide here today. President Trump, as I said, did say he's calling off any planned attacks moving forward as of this moment. Let me get you the gas pricing here real quick. Crude oil prices, well, Brent oil lost about 6% here this morning, $83.03 a barrel for that. West Texas Intermediate, they slid more than 7% here this morning to $78.59 per barrel, right here at the top of the show. So oil prices sliding big. The news of the ceasefire obviously causing the stock market to jump here as well. Dow Jones is up 809 points as of right now. Man, that was opened up at 600 points, by the way, up. So obviously big gain even after the market opened about 30 minutes ago. It's at 53,212 for the Dow Jones, and the S&P 500 is up 83 points to 75.59. Well, the NASDAQ also way up today. 291 points up for the NASDAQ, 25,664. The Russell 2K, that small cap index, up to 25 points to 29.71. Now, Bitcoin down technically today, right? 386 points. That could disappear in about 3 seconds, but it's trading at 63,129 as it came down on Friday from that 65 level it was at for about a week or so. And it's kind of settled in over the weekend to 63,000 range, and today 63,165 for Bitcoin here today. Stocks we're paying attention to right now, we're going to look at two pharmaceutical companies. First one, AstraZeneca is the first stock we're going to look at here. Down 7.81% right now is what we're looking at with them. Why are they down? Well, they are part of the Financial Times reporting out there that AstraZeneca is in the conversations to merge with Bristol Myers Squibb, which will be our second stock that we look at today as well. Now, Bristol Myers Squibb company, well, they're up 1.60%. So these companies moving in opposite directions with the Financial Times report that these two are in talks to merge as of right now. So this would be a huge pharmaceutical merger here between these two companies. And both their stocks opposite directions today. And then there's eBay out there, folks. You know eBay, right? E-commerce, original e-commerce. They're down 1.97% here today. Wells Fargo came out and downgraded the stock to underweight. It was at equal weight before at Wells Fargo. Why did they do it? Well, eBay's acquisition of Depop, which was just completed last week, Wells Fargo said it's going to lead to weaker earnings coming up in fiscal year 2027 for eBay. And they even say increased spending is possible for marketing against the newly acquired company's competitors, meaning Depop's competitors. So Wells Fargo is saying higher expenses from this purchase and weaker earnings next year, all because eBay bought that Depop services and closed on that last week. So eBay's down 2.05% here today as well. Later on, when we come back, well, we haven't checked on them in a while, right? Stock market's way up. So let's look at memory stocks later on. SanDisk, Micron Technologies, and then Seagate Technology as well. We'll look at those coming up here later on when we come back after our first break here of the show. And then, folks, right, we got the stories over the weekend that you need to know about. And Interesting things happening between the United States and Japan, and it has nothing to do with tariffs or anything. Yes, the United States and Japan conducted coordinated yen buying intervention, and they say that they're going to continue to do so if necessary. They will not, their quote was, hesitate to take further action. Now, Japan's finance ministry gave us all this information this morning. So, this is a rare bilateral action to halt the yen slide because it went down to 40-year lows last week. The intervention came on Friday, and it underscores both countries' resolve to prevent a sell off in the yen and Japanese government bonds. Because a sell off in both of those, well, it'll cause global spillovers. Things like adding upward pressure on already rising U.S. Treasury yields. So the U.S. by doing this move, is also protecting its own interest out there. This joint intervention was the first since 2011's coordinated action. That was to weaken the yen because of the devastating earthquake in eastern Japan at that time. Central bank's data indicates here this morning that Japan may have spent as much as $36.58 billion buying yen during Friday's joint intervention. President Trump said on Sunday the United States was helping Japan prop up the yen, all part of the sign of friendship there between the two countries, but also, like I said, to help the world economy and the U.S. economy as well. So, you know, the U.S. just helped Japan as a strategic ally over there in Asia. Well, the intervention will also help the United States address the concerns over extraordinary weakness in the yen that offsets the boost from Trump's tariffs. So, like I said, has to do with an American, economy side as well as the world side there. But that is happening or happened on Friday, and they say it'll continue to happen if necessary to keep propping that yen up over there. Now let's come back over to this side of the United States, or this side of the world, excuse me, to the United States. And the Commerce Department came out. They indicated that the federal government is on track to dole out millions of dollars to seven companies, all to fund technology development, right? This is the CHIPS Act, if you remember that from the Biden administration. But the caveat here is the U.S. government will require the businesses that receive this funding, well, to move and give the government equity in exchange for the money. Yes, the department, here's the quote. The Department of Commerce today announced the signing of seven letters of intent to provide $874 million in federal incentives under the CHIPS and Science Act. That was a press release from last week out there. And it went on to say these incentives will support innovative domestic technologies to dramatically increase the performance of the world's fastest computers, to secure domestic supply chains, and even strengthen U.S. leadership in the compute supply chain, unquote. Now, remember the CHIPS and Science Act that was passed by Congress. Joe Biden signed it into law. I want to say 2022 timeframe there as well. Now, these seven companies are Global Foundries, Kepler, Multibeam Corporation, Extropic, Thintronics, Obsidia Semiconductors, and a company called Eoluma out there as well. Now, they say they've entered into letters of intent with the Department of Commerce, and there will be further diligence and approval by the department before final awards are made. And we're talking, several $100 million for each company, and the amounts vary depending on the company as well. That they'll get this done. But they say that the Commerce Department, will receive a minority, non-controlling equity stake in each company as a result for receiving the funds and enhance the return for the U.S. taxpayer. Is the stance on that side. So now we're seeing, some movement here where more equity. We saw this kind of with, I know Intel was one of them that was explored earlier in terms of equity on the backside from, excuse my computer here, receiving equity on the backside of a government funding. And now we're starting to see that pop up again here with these seven companies. And speaking of tariffs that we talked about, I brought up earlier in the show with the Japan yen, right, to offset the tariffs and help the tariffs out. We're still dealing with those refunds on the tariffs from that Supreme Court decision that the tariffs under that emergency decree were, illegal at that time. Well, Amazon says that it's received hundreds of millions of dollars, folks, in refunds from tariffs imposed by President Trump. Some of the money returned via the refunds Like I said, this is the ruling that the Supreme Court said they were illegal with the Emergency Powers Act. But Amazon says many of those tariffs will be passed back on to customers. Here's what their quote was: "We are participating in the tariff refund process, and we received approximately $600 million in the 3 months of quarter two." We get that from the Amazon CFO in a earnings call that was reviewed by a bunch of agencies out there. Now, the CFO went on to say that the amount was limited, and that's because Amazon it began forward buying and positioning inventory, all to stave off tariff costs. And Amazon is not the importer of record for the large majority of the items sold in its store, right? It's some other company that's putting stuff and listing it on the Amazon sites. So Amazon's not the one generally that's in fronts the tariffs. The individual companies that had to do that. So Amazon says when it receives the refunds, they will proactively contact the affected customers and automatically issue them with the refunds moving forward. But my big takeaway on this story, it's pretty simple. Amazon, which they don't deal with a lot of tariffs because they aren't the importing site, right? But Amazon by themselves, $600 million in tariff refunds. So if they're that big, what about everybody else is the question that I've got. How many big ones are real entities getting out there? Well, here's an interesting thing happening over in Texas. Right? We got the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ out there. Well, there's a new rival to Wall Street over there in New York. It officially debuted on Friday. Yes, folks, a new stock exchange out there, and this one is called the Texas Stock Exchange. It went fully live for the first time on Friday, trading available for all of its listed tickers. This Texas Stock Exchange is based in Dallas. It's the first new major stock exchange to launch in the U.S. in multiple decades. Now it's TXSE is where you can find it out there. Texie, it's what they're calling it. It's looking to compete with the New York Stock Exchange and, of course, the NASDAQ for the listings. This exchange boasts several prominent financial backers, huge backers: BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, Charles Schwab, huge companies backing this Texas stock exchange out there. It currently plans to begin corporate listings later this year and intends to facilitate initial public offerings starting in 2027. The Texie sees the economic rise of Texas and a broader swath of the South that it's calling the Boom Belt as being the center of gravity for American capitalism, is what they're calling themselves, and a market that can tap into for IPOs. Now, the Texas website, it notes the region has an annualized GDP of $8.9 trillion. Well, that's more than all world economies other than the U.S. and China. It also adds 40% of American exports pass through the Boom Belt, which is that Texas area. 57% of U.S. job growth has occurred in the region in the last 5 years. So, now, they're currently operating from temporary offices in an uptown neighborhood there of Dallas, but they plan to move into its permanent headquarters at the city's Bank of America Tower, which is being built right now. They're going to operate multiple buildings and floors there. It's going to operate the Texas Market Center as well for that. So, new stock exchange on the market. And I saw earlier today, let me pull this up here real quick, and I don't know who named it this, right? Texie is what they're calling. TXSEE is what they're calling this thing in terms of its thing. But somebody put in there Y'all Street. It's what they're calling instead of Wall Street, folks. Y'all Street down there in Texas. I wish I would have thought of that. 'Cause that's kind of my type of joke right there as well out there. So I don't know. Check it out if you're interested. I don't know what companies are on there now. I haven't looked into it yet. I just saw it started on Friday. Now, Taylor Farms, right? Kind of been in the news a lot lately for bad things, right? We reported on they're part of the lettuce, the tainted lettuce for that parasite that's giving people explosive diarrhea for weeks on end and everything. So they're under a big watchdog. Well, now, not when things go bad for a company, they go bad. Yeah, the former president of Taylor Farms Tennessee division, He's now been officially accused of stealing $32 million from the company and in multiple schemes to do so. It included funneling money to a sham company and even keeping his wife and other family members on the payroll. Now, Taylor Farms, as you've heard over the last several couple weeks here with this parasite going around, they're a major U.S. produce supplier out there. And, this is the one that was tied to Taco Bell lettuce, for instance, as well. But Taylor Farms made the allegations in a federal lawsuit that was officially filed in Tennessee. So Brian Thru is the president, and he served as president of Taylor Farms, Tennessee from 2012 through March of this year. In roughly 14 years that he headed that Tennessee division, Taylor Farms says through falsely or falsified vendor charges, he authorized fraudulent payroll and even used company money to fund a personal chef, a personal driver, a handyman, personal trainer, heck, even an aquarium maintenance attendant. All rolled through the company when those were personal charges. The vast web of schemes was uncovered with an IRS audit back in 2025. Now, on the personal side of things, because I kind of looked into that a little bit, and the lawsuit says, like, how do you get personal things charged to the company? Well, he allegedly, according to this lawsuit, he told contractors who questioned the personal work that refusal to do so would jeopardize their ability to continue working as a vendor with Taylor Farms, Tennessee. And also, Thur, according to the lawsuit at least, Thur admitted to stealing in a recorded phone call. Then he later called Bruce Taylor, the company's CEO, and apologized for his fraudulent misconduct. Now, lawsuit against him, his wife, and several other entities that were involved in this, the side company and things to that effect. So Taylor Farm, not just bad lettuce, bad operations and bad faith from one of its executives there, the Tennessee branch out there as well. When we come back here at McCollum on Business, we told you about the Y'all Street. That name is just clever. I just like it too much. We'll get into some local stories coming up here as well, and also much more. So come on back. It's McCollum on Business, Monday edition. And we're back here, McCollum on Business, Monday edition. Appreciate you joining me here on this Monday. Don't forget, we are back to our 5-day-a-week schedule. Started last week out there, so we were in on Friday doing our live programming. It's just a summer schedule we put into place, taking Fridays off for the summers. And we're back here with football season getting underway. And, of course, lots of business news out there, leading us to being here 5 days a week again. And also on Friday, don't forget, if you missed it, The Real Matrix, the second part of the episodes there on the Trajarian buildings. Well, second part came out on Friday at noon. If you catch any of The Real Matrix out there, tons of subjects already up there. 40 full episodes over there on Rumbles, where you can find that program to watch it. Rumble.com/user/TME Media is where you find that programming. or on your favorite podcast systems. Just search The Real Matrix, The Angry Patriot, big viewership or listenership there on the podcast side of things as well. We appreciate you guys to find it. I know the Angry Fan appreciates you guys checking that out. New episode coming out this Friday, but catch any of the episodes already out over on Rumble. And then, of course, as soon as we're done here with McCollum on Business, we get this show posted on YouTube and on Rumble as well. Rumble.com/user/TME Media or TME Media AZ on YouTube as well. We do this program live at 7 a.m. We do the main event live at 8 a.m. from 8 to 10 a.m. And then, of course, as soon as we're done, we put it up on demand there on YouTube as well for you to catch it on demand. Share it with your friends. Tell people what we do here. We greatly appreciate it. And don't forget the pit stop. Zero racing over the weekend in IndyCar and NASCAR circuit. Just an off weekend all around. Well, it gets back underway this weekend. We got Iowa Speedway coming up for the NASCAR boys and girls. I believe Portland for IndyCar. Pit stop look ahead show, since there's no looking back. A news and look ahead show coming this Wednesday for you as well. On demand, YouTube and over on Rumble as well. Every show has its own podcast version except for this one, McCollum on Business. So just search the show name, The Main Event with Steven, or The Main Event with Dale. It pops right up for you. The Pit Stop with Steven pops right up on your favorite podcast system, or, of course, The Real Matrix as well. Angry Patriot, it pops up as well there. So you may have to cough all of a sudden. Folks, we appreciate you joining us and watching what we do and supporting us out there. And with all that, we know why you're here, right? You want to see the market watch? So let's get into it. I confused Ethan with the way I introed that out there. And so I'm laughing about it here going into this deal. And he caught on, though. He caught it on good. All right, Dow Jones right now up 747 points here this morning. S&P 500 is up 92 points. The NASDAQ up 363 as of right now. And then the Russell 2K is up to 29 points. Oil prices down 7 to 8%, depending on which market you look at or which one you look at, Brent crude or West Texas Intermediate. All because President Trump has called off planned attacks on Iran. The oil prices are sliding here today, and there you go. Everything is popping here on this Monday. Bitcoin, well, it is down today, and it's down in that 63,000 range as well, 63,126 for Bitcoin right now. And Bitcoin, was at 65 there for about a week and a half, coming back down to that 63,000 range as well. And, a lot of talk this morning. All the business sites are talking about that U.S. and Japan pop-up of the yen. That was our first story earlier today as well. A lot of focus on that specific thing happening on Friday as well, and watching that over the weekend. So a lot of information out there and a lot of investors watching that happen going. SpaceX, things are looking forward to this week, just to kind of tell you on the market. SpaceX, well, they are in a little bit of a plunge here after their initial public offering, but first earnings report comes out this week for SpaceX, so a lot of people are going to be doing that. The stock is down more than 50% from its post-IPO high. That was as of Friday's close out there as well. Things to that. So this week, SpaceX, woo, we have their reporting coming out. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, because that is going to roil the markets. Stocks we're paying attention to right now, we're going to look at memory stocks. Broadly lower starting this part of the week here, right? Last week was up and down, up and down. I believe the experts call it choppy out there. And SanDisk Corporation's our first one we're going to look at here on this Monday. Down 0.99% right now for them. Now let's look at Micron Technologies. They're next up here on our listing. 3.86% for Micron. And then Seagate Technologies, folks, I'm willing to bet you it's still down as well. Yes, it is. 7.70%. So lower to start the week. Choppy trading as the experts call it. I just call it the roller coaster, up and down there as well. So these memory stocks continue to literally be a roller coaster, just up and down, riding the waves of these stocks, and record numbers of income for these guys, right? With the shortage of demand, or the pricing going up because of shortage of demand, and these stocks just ride this train partly because of the AI. The question on if AI is, a bubble or not out there going forward. Now let's get into, well, some local stories, but the first one here is more of a national story, but it does include Arizona. And the Trump administration, well, they put out an edict to investigate how much coal is under federal lands here throughout the United States. But what'll come from it, we don't know yet. But just more of, is this coal resource becoming scarce out there? Kind of is the question. Well, there's new U.S. Geological Survey report, the USGS. They say there are about 4 billion U.S. tons left at existing mines and another 356 billion that could be developed in new areas. All of this is in the lower 48 states of the country. About half of the undeveloped resources of that 356 billion, well, about half of those are up in Wyoming and several different areas as well. But Arizona, Colorado, Montana, New Mexico, North Dakota, and Utah has a big chunk of that amount as well after you get past that half in Montana. These minerals are all under land managed by the Bureau of Land Management, either them or the U.S. Forest Service, are the main two entities. There's a few other agencies that it falls under as well. Very little, though, is actually under any national parks or any monuments in the United States. So a lot of this information in the report isn't new. There's nothing surprising about it. We've had these studies for a long time, but it is the first time that it has been brought all together since the 1970s into one report out there. Now, as I said, the Trump administration wanted this information. They called for it in a 2025 executive order to get that information. Obviously, President Trump, well, he's extended the life of coal plants and things when the Biden administration was expiring them. Well, how much is here in Arizona? They report under federal lands. Well, there's an area called Black Mesa out there here in Arizona, and it has 3.7 billion things of coal, units of coal underneath it there in Black Mesa. So that's our amount here as well. Like I said, over half of it is in several entities up there in Montana. So Arizona, lots of coal there still available under the foreign land. That doesn't include private property. That's just the foreign lands out there as well. And over the weekend, I saw this story. I heard this story, I guess I should say, on Saturday. And we did a test run. We'll just call it a test run this year. We're talking about the Semicon West Conference. It's been 50 years in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's an annual event out there. Now it's moving officially for good to Phoenix here coming up in 2027. Semicon West has been held in California's Silicon Valley since 1971. It's considered the premier event for semiconductor and microelectronics manufacturing. It's also helped showcase other emerging technologies, things like LEDs, solar energy panels. It's what it's been responsible for as well. So last week, Semi Americas, which puts on the event, they announced they would hold one more conference in San Francisco this fall, and then they're going to be moving to its permanent spring schedule in Phoenix in 2027. Semi says the switch from fall to spring will give exhibitors and attendees greater flexibility to attend other semi expositions in other parts of the world, right? Like India, Taiwan, Europe, Japan happens throughout the year. That's why the one here will be in the fall because it allows you to go to those ones and then this one as well here. Now the relocation, why to Phoenix? Well, record-breaking success of the debut at the Phoenix Convention Center last fall. The Arizona Commerce Authority said in a statement that the event brought in 60% more registrations, 50% more registrations than prior conferences as well. So it made it the most widely attended Semicon West in over 20 years. But also don't forget, Arizona, tremendous momentum in the state around the semiconductor ecosystem and workforce efforts here as well. Another reason why it's moving here permanently moving forward. Now, the Commerce Authority said Arizona has attracted more than 70 semiconductor expansions, so over $314 billion in investments since 2020 here in Arizona as well. So Semicon West moving. This is a big, I know I'm not in that circle, but reading how big this conference is, it's huge. It's a big deal that is being moved here to Arizona in the fall, starting in 2027. And I question the success of this place here in Arizona. Been there once and only once as well. Had a good time. Got kind of shamed there a little bit going down one of the rides, but the Great Wolf Lodge up there in Scottsdale or on the Indian Reservation, Pima Indian Reservation up there in the Scottsdale area. Great Wolf Lodge is looking to expand its water park resort. It's about 7 years old now up there, Talking Stick Entertainment District. Why do they want to expand it? Well, they want to accommodate large families moving forward. The resort owners are seeking to build a connecting 6-story suite tower. It's going to have 24 guest suites, each with 3 bedrooms in them. The addition would be the same height as the existing building, so nothing different from that. 78 feet tall is what their buildings are now. It'll connect through a ground floor walkway with the rest of the park as well. Going to have the same architectural design, so you won't notice it being newer and things like that. They do want to add a 2-story parking structure separate, which will be separate from the application to build this tower. The structure will be proposed to account for the additional families that show up there. Parking there is horrendous there in the front of it, anyhow, especially at busy times out there. So Great Wolf Lodge looking to expand, so must be still having some success up there in Scottsdale and being packed, especially throughout the summer. Stay out of the sun there, in the summertime and not get that sunburn there as well. And an old staple. I remember the hats of this place. It's just a funky looking place there as well. I'm making a comeback here in Arizona, possibly. Hot dog on a stick, if you remember this place. It was a West Coast hot dog and lemonade focused chain. There you go, folks. Look what they're wearing. They dip them, see, right there. Well, it was a big staple there in the malls when I was younger there, but it's under new ownership. And the new ownership is having talks to return here to Arizona. Now, it had locations in Paradise Valley Mall, Metro Center, even Chandler Fashion Center. But all those stores closed, right, back in 2014 here in Arizona. They've gone through several different ownership groups. They were acquired this summer by a company out of Las Vegas, a company called Amazing Brands. $8 million purchase here through a bankruptcy court approved transaction. So they say this company says they're in lease negotiations for at least 6 different sites to bring Hot Dog on a Stick back to the Valley. They didn't give any locations out there, but there you go, folks. An old staple. They do the corn dogs right there with the dipping, and I just like the hats and the uniforms. That's pretty classic, in my opinion, out there as well. So might be seeing those come back, folks. Now I'm kind of hungry for hot dogs out there as well. Hey, appreciate you joining me here on this Monday edition, of course, of McCollum on Business. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. as well. Come and join me at 8 o'clock. Dale is off today. He has a family situation. Nobody's in trouble. He's got a family situation, so he's not going to be able to make it in. Informed me of that over the weekend. I just didn't want to talk. Look, he just doesn't want to talk SummerSlam today. Come join me 8 to 10 a.m. live here on YouTube, TME Media AZ on YouTube, just like here. And then everything will be on demand here just in a little bit. McCollum on Business. Hey, we'll see you tomorrow, everyone. Tuesday morning is edition coming up tomorrow, 23 hours from now, roughly. See you then, folks. Have a great Monday night.